Hello, this is John Lord of Deep Purple. For the next 3 hours, we're going to try and take you through what we've been through since 1968, which is when the band started. I guess the easiest way to start is to say how I was approached. Phone call to a drunk, hungover organist without a gig to come to a party, and I went to this party. Met a guy called Chris Curtis, who used to be the drummer of the Searchers, and he was going to form a band called Roundabout. Wonderful name. Which and he said he had a guitarist called Richie Blackmore that I'd heard of, and who'd sort of left England, gone to live in Hamburg, and would I care to join in? Right? I said no. You know, I was hanging fire for another gig, which from a guy who has since become famously nameless. I can't even remember his name myself. And he kept phoning me, and eventually I said all right, and I got together with Richie. I was knocked out with the kind of thing he was playing, so we agreed. And then Chris started to get it all together, and we had contracts which we were supposed to be going to sign, and all sorts of things, and everything looked great. And we had a manager, some guy was going to put some bread up, and then Curtis changed his mind some way, and disappeared into the wild blue yonder, leaving me and Richie sort of high and dry. Richie back from Hamburg, where he hadn't really wanted to leave in the first place, and me having missed the phone call that I was waiting for. And then the guy who was going to put the bread up for the band under Curtis's thing phoned me up and said, no, I got it wrong. He sent me a telegram. I was in Germany at the time. I was backing the Flower Pot Men, which is a part of my history that I like to keep quiet. And I got a telegram, you know, come back to England immediately. You know, it's all happening. And the guys, you know, had liked what Richie and I were talking about and was willing to put the bread up. So that's really how we started the band. Richie had heard Ian Pace play in Hamburg, and he contacted him. The guy, it was amazing. It was like a fairy tale for me at the time. You know, he hired a farmhouse just outside London and put us in there and said, right, you know, hold auditions for singers and bass players, and it was amazing, you know, to find that kind of help. So we went into we were put into a recording studio and told to make an album. We were given 24 hours. That's how it was in those days. It was so we did everything we'd been rehearsing, made an album out of it. We did it in 24 hours. The mixing took, well, if you listen back to Shades of Deep Purple, which was the album, it took about 9 minutes, I think. So we weren't allowed to even touch it, you know. And on that album was our version of the Joe South song called Hush, which was our first success in America.
I need your loving and I'm not to blame now. You got early in the morning, you got late in the evening. Oh, well, I want and need it. Oh, I gotta get ahead of it. Ian Gillan.
In the later days of episode 6, I was offered a job and had a telephone call, and someone said, a friend of mine at the other end of the line said, there's this band called Deep Purple which is forming, and they're looking for a singer, and I recommended you, and would you? They've heard you, and would like you to take the job. Would you like to go along and meet them? And I said, no, thank you very much. I'm very happy with episode 6 at the time. So anyway, Deep Purple, I followed their progress quite carefully after that, having had the offer anyway. And they rocketed to success in America with Hush and Kentucky Woman and all this sort of thing. And all the albums, Shades of Deep Purple and everything, were doing phenomenally well. And I was a bit cheesed off, obviously, having turned it down. But it was strange, really, because just at the time when I decided actually to part with episode 6, I had another telephone call saying, well, Deep Purple are just, their singer and bass player are just leaving. Would you like to reconsider your decision? And I said, oh, yes, please.
John Lord.
One day, just before Ian and Roger joined, a few months before, and my manager was saying, what have you got up your sleeve? Anything you'd like to do that we could get together that's really sort of unusual and different and would be fun to do? Excuse me. And I said, yeah, as it happens, there is. I'd love to write a piece of music for group and orchestra. And he looked a bit old-fashioned at me, he said, really? I said, yeah, I'd love to. He said, would it work? I said, I don't know. He said, have you ever written for an orchestra before? I said, no, I haven't. He said, do you think you could? I said, yeah. So I did. He said, well, go ahead and write it. And I was writing away at it, like off and on. Just one day he phoned up, he said, September the 27th. I said, what? He said, the Albert Hall, the Royal Philharmonic and you. And it was a giant success, the Albert Hall was sold out. And we weren't, Deep Purple was hardly known at all then in this country, in England. But somehow, the publicity was done very well on it, and the Albert Hall was full, 5,500 people. And there was a 15-minute ovation at the end. Everyone loved it. Critics murdered it, said it was naive, and which it was, and meaningless, which it wasn't, and pretentious, which it also wasn't. They totally missed the point, most of them. I'm talking about the straight daily newspaper critics, The music business critics got the point, which was enjoyment and fun and something a bit different, And they liked it, and the audience liked it, and the album sold very nicely. We weren't really at all sure about releasing the concerto album, the in-concert album. We recorded it live because it would have been nice for a memento anyway, had it not been... and it had to be recorded for the film soundtrack anyway. Then we listened back to it, and the quality was good, So we did put it out, and it received, quite a lot of publicity, and it sold fairly well. But then all of a sudden we found that through our first 3 albums, which we always used to make the mistake in those days of, we're making an album, lads. And you get album mania, and you start doing things that you wouldn't do on stage. A lot of groups make this mistake, and you tend to get a certain loss of identity between your stage performances and your recorded albums. Then this concerto came out, and everyone thought, well, what are they into, And there was a lot of confusion, not only in the minds of the public, but in our own minds. We had little internal difficulties about this, that, and the other, And so we finally said, right, we're going to make an album which, once and for all, is going to say what Deep Purple have always been on stage, and always will be, within reason. An album which will be our stage act, which will be totally and completely us, as we've always been and always wanted to be. And to that end, we set ourselves these very strict sort of lines between which we would write the music for Deep Purple in rock.
Sweet child in time, you'll see the line that's drawn between good and bad. See the blind man shooting at the world, bullets flying, taking toll. If you've been bad, oh Lord, I bet you have, and you've not been hit by a flying lead. You better close your eyes. Bow your head. Wait for the ricochet.
I think the best song on it, and probably the best song to this date that we've written is Child in Time. It's certainly one of the most popular things we've ever done, on stage, But one of the standout tracks for me is a thing called Hard Loving Man, which I love because it's utterly mad. It's the most violent thing we've ever put on record. For me, and yet it's very controlled. I mean, the violence is controlled. I like it also because of the way we recorded it. We recorded it, like, quote, live, unquote, in the studio. We didn't dub any solos. I think we just dubbed one thing. But we just set ourselves up in the studio as we would on stage and just went bang, I think it was recorded in 2 takes. Well, we were in the studio between Deep Purple and Rock and Fireball, just laying down some tracks, to see what was happening. And while we were there, our manager rang up and said, EMI have informed us that we need a single, because in our contract with EMI there is 1 single a year I think we have to put out, whether we want to or not. So there you go. So can you do a single? Put the phone down, Oh, can you do a single? Yeah, sure, yeah, we'll write a million seller any day. Yes. So we put our heads together and came up with precisely nothing. After about 8 hours we had nothing, just useless ideas. So we went out to the pub around the corner from the studio, had a few beers, got laughing and joking, and Richie and I were sitting there just drinking our beer, and he suddenly said, hey, what about, I've just thought of a little riff. And I said, okay, go ahead. And he sang it to me. I thought, oh, that sounds good. Really, it just came out, And I said, quick, let's get back down there. So he and I just went back and left the other boys drinking. And we worked on this thing, and we found we got something quite reasonable. And the drummer and the bass player came back down, left the singer boozed out of his mind in the pub. And I think within half an hour we had the backing track down of Black Knight. It was one of those things that, by not thinking about it and by not trying, it just came together. And Ian came back down and said, oh, I like that, that's great. Went in and I think he wrote the lyrics are pretty banal. I think he wrote the lyrics in about 3 minutes flat. And there we were, and we took it to EMI and they flipped.
Maybe I'll find on the way down.
It's early 1971, Deep Purple's first tour of Australia. Drummer Ian Pace.
Australia we found to be a little bit reserved and a little bit, and this is not putting anybody down, a little bit behind. But I think that's only to be expected from the very, weird place they are, the so alone. But we had a better reaction than we thought we'd get. Yeah. Because, it's like completely untried new territory. And we were quite pleased with the way it went, yeah.
Keyboard player John Lord.
We did in Australia 2 of the finest concerts we've ever done. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on Australian radio. Randwick Stadium, Sydney was one of the greatest concerts I've ever played at. I mean, the audience were really fantastic, and there were lots of them too. And it was a lovely day, and it was a great concert. I mean, I think there was 36,000 at Randwick. Well, that's surely worth going to play to.
The loudest band in the world. That's how they described Deep Purple back in 1971. And in our look at front and backstage concerts, we go back to May of that year when Deep Purple appeared at Festival Hall with the Manfred Mann Earth Band and Free. Go Set's Ian Meldrum recalls the 71 tour.
And then, of course, with Deep Purple, they lived up to the name that we'd sort of hoped that they would be. They were loud, they were strong, and they were very, very tight. And, of course, they did Black Knight and Strange Kind of Woman, which knocked everyone out. But it's odd with that group because they went on to bigger and better things, I think, after that tour, international-wise. Whereas Free, who I was a complete Free freak, and All Right Now had just really taken off in Australia. That group after the Australian tour fell apart, really, which was a great pity because I think they're one of the best groups that the late 60s, early 70s produced. But going back to Deep Purple at Festival Hall, there was, of course, that big drama with that tour as well, because there was a return concert on the Sunday night, which Free, I think, couldn't do. But Manfred Mann, before they went on, their management, and it was Bob Foster, insisted that they be paid before they go on. And next minute, there was the heavies moved in, and Bob Foster was bashed up at his motel and had to hide for the whole of the next day and be whisked away on an aeroplane back to London. It was pretty dramatic near the end, and everyone was arguing backstage, and Deep Purple weren't quite sure what was going on, and their management had more sense not to say a thing at that stage. But it was pretty dramatic. But it was a great concert. Fantastic.
It's a thing called Black Knight. Get on now. Right on the way down the line that I'm
The album's very much more subdued than in rock, which is why we've gone back to the way we made in rock, but because we're older and wiser and better than we used to be. I mean, we've improved, I think, all the time. It didn't feel like it was constricted. It seemed very, very natural. And I think Machine Head is definitely the best album we've ever made. It has the musical quality of Fireball, but it has the excitement of In Rock. And the songs also on it, I think, are the best we've ever written. It starts off with this track called Highway Star, which is it's a very mad up-tempo number. It's a typical Deep Purple style, you know, which I like. You know, it's one of my favourites. It's got a really weird organ solo in it and a really weird guitar solo.
Why did you go to Switzerland to record Machine Head?
Several reasons. Well, one being it's a great place to be, Montreux. We know a lot of people in Montreux, and it was a nice place to go. Second, because we used the Rolling Stones mobile unit, and that was in the south of France, and it was easy to trundle it up to Switzerland. And thirdly, money reasons, tax reasons. You can avoid paying some tax on your albums, on your royalties, if you've made the album out of the country. It's a very complicated deal, but it's not illegal. I mean, tax people know about it, but it's just that if you want to take advantage of it, you have to record outside the country. And also, we did it in 2 weeks, where normally we take 3 or 4 months over an album, you know, on and off. But we just had a concentrated 2 weeks bang, you know. We'd written all the songs and we just went in and recorded. I remember them all, like the tunes, but I can't remember the titles. I'm useless at titles. Oh, and there's this, of course, a song called Never Before, which is the one that's going to be a single. Which I really think is about the most commercial thing we've ever done. Not intentionally, just listening to it afterwards, we thought, hell, that's commercial, you know. I think, you know. I never know, you know.
There were no rehearsals in the last 2 years of the band. There wasn't one rehearsal. There were fewer and fewer sound checks. There was less and less social communication within the group, and I suppose less and less musical communication within the group. The only time we ever really exerted our minds was when we came to make an album. You can't really count
made in Japan because that was recorded live, and no constructive effort went into making that album other than technical.
1973 was a strange year for Deep Purple. Despite internal friction, they sell in excess of 12 million albums, and their newly released Who Do We Think We Are gets a canning from music critics.
The rock and roll band, Deep Purple's newly released album, Who Do We Think We Are, shows signs of staleness. After a number of successful recordings, this one lacks creativity. Question is, are Deep Purple becoming stagnant?
Through lack of fresh ideas, the Deep Purple machine was starting to slow. Not long after the release of Who Do We Think We Are, an announcement was made that brought the machine to an apparent stop.
As far as pop groups go, the one musician or the one instrument in the band that leaves a stronger trademark than any other is obviously the singer's voice. Do you think Deep Purple now have any chance of maintaining the success that has been established so far?
Yes, I think quite positively, because well, to answer that question, yes, because obviously they'll have a new lease of life, and you know, we've been going as we are now for nearly 4 years. So I think it'll be good for the group, you know, to have somebody new in, to get a fresh sort of thing. The only way it might sort of change the band at all, I suppose, is from the writing point of view. They'll have to really get somebody who sort of really helps and writes an awful lot, you know, as far as lyrics and melodies are concerned anyway.
Yeah. Your memory seems to be just about spot on when it comes to recalling back the time that you were in Australia. And I remember one thing we discussed was drugs.
Yeah.
Which I have seen bandied around the pop press quite a lot lately, surrounding splits. I forget now who it was.
Yeah.
Has drugs ever come into any aspect of the group's any dissension, or there's never been any...
No, not in any way at all. No. You see, most of us are boozers anyway, so we've never been involved, you know, in that kind of thing, because we all grow up with a pint in our hands, you know, that sort of thing. Fortunately for us, it's a legal vice, you know, whereas the other one isn't a legal vice.
In the summer of '73, I was working as a salesman in a boutique and singing semi-professionally with a group called the Fabulosa Brothers in Teesside, which is in the north of England. Each week I was reading in the musical press and hearing stories about Deep Purple still looking for a vocalist, hearing many names mentioned. A friend suggested I should send a tape in and asked me what I had to lose, and basically the answer was nothing. So the only tape I had was from a very drunken recording session. So I sent that in, and a photograph which was 3 years old. And fortunately this led to an audition and eventually to my position as lead singer with Deep Purple. In the September of '73, after joining Deep Purple, I was told that we'd taken over a castle in Wales, a castle Clearwell Castle, in fact, for a month to rehearse and write material. This castle is about 600 years old. We took over the whole place, which was quite amusing, really, because it was, at times, on several days of the week, it was open to the public, and we would be sitting in the banqueting hall having breakfast or lunch, and it was as if a sign had been put up, come and see the hippies, or come and see the rock musicians eating, like a zoo thing. And they all wandered through while we were eating and taking away with all the silver candelabra all over the place. We were writing and rehearsing in the crypt, which was a little hair-raising, and on several occasions we had seances. And the last one of these, which convinced us to stop, was when we had the previous owner of the castle, who asked us to ask his wife to suggest that we stop using so much electricity. So we were a little freaked out about that. So we stopped turning on stereos and electric fires and just concentrated on the minimal amount of equipment. After writing there, which was a very successful period, we went to Switzerland, Montreux in fact, where we booked a hall for recording with the Stones track for a month. The reason we went to Montreux was in fact the same reason as Clearwell, just to have peace and quiet with no distraction, no material distraction whatsoever, to get the job done, really, so we could all concentrate on writing and recording. Montreux, at the time we went over, was at the end of the season and the majority of places were closed. So, in fact, all we had to do was record. We found out we didn't need the month. We got the album done in 10 days, which we were all very pleased about, although I think the Stones charged us for the month. The majority of the rehearsal and writing we did in Clearwell was purely musical. Glenn and I had more or less worked out the melody lines, but we'd been concentrating too much on preparing the music to start work on the lyrics, so we decided to hold back until we got to Montreux, when we'd have more time. We tried to approach the lyrics in a different sense, to try and give Purple a different sound entirely. One particular song, we tried to put down in the words how things had changed for us since getting the position with Deep Purple. Glenn, for instance, had been in a reasonably successful band called Trapeze, and to a certain extent had the pats on the back from people for being a musician in a name band. And he found that once he got the job with Deep Purple, there was a lot more people patting him on the back and calling him friend and inviting him out. And I've found that absolutely to a ridiculous extent, that people, a lot of people who didn't want to know me before, didn't even smile or anything whatsoever, want to take me out to dinner and wine and dine me, advise me where to spend money and things, and come into business with them. And we tried to put this down in words. And eventually this particular tune, we decided after long discussions to put out as a single, and that's Might Just Take Your Life. Tunes on the album, a really high tempo number. We had recorded the backing track, but we were getting a little stuck for an idea to put in lyric wise, I was speaking to Richie Blackmore one evening, and he said that every time he played the tune, he could imagine some form of 16th century witch creating havoc, and he couldn't get this out of his head. So Glenn and I discussed this and spent 8 hours or so working on this idea, and we came up with what we feel was a very successful, surreal image of a witch going berserk, threatening people, you know, to do like a devil's emissary, threatening to create all sorts of chaos if they didn't do as she said. And this, funnily enough, is an extension we extended from the idea of this song to the cover of the album, which includes candles burning, which is a little Dennis Wheatley black magic thing. And eventually the track evolved into a thing called Burn. A lot of people have asked me which is my personal favourite track on the album, and without a doubt I can say the blues track on the second side, which is purely a simple song, emotional experience. It's a very difficult song to sing, but the satisfaction afterwards is marvellous. I think a lot of people can identify with this particular track, I think called Mistreated. When we were approached and asked about a single, we had great discussions about having, we had two particular songs, and it was really in the balance which one we decide for the single. One of the tunes has an unusual guitar riff from Richie and synthesizer from John, which is unusual because John is usually playing organ, and we were considering this particular song because of its different sound. It had more of a sound of the newer Deep Purple. It's a Direction song lyrically. It's a thing called Sail Away.
Searching for the Holy Grail.
you originally got the offer or heard about the vacancy and joined Deep Purple?
Purple saw me playing a year previous to when I joined in Los Angeles, about 3 or 4 times, and they really, got off on what I was doing, and the band too, and so the rest of the guys. And they complimented. They said, "Oh, really nice," and they left it at that because they were being really smart about it. And I didn't know, I just didn't understand. And then I went back home to London, and they were coming to see me there, and we were just good friends, all just good friends. And after about 9 months of just friendship and going around to the house and everything, they asked me to join.
You joined the band. Your initial reaction to stepping into something so big, obviously you weren't worried about your own talents, but it must have been hard to adjust.
Yeah, it was hard to adjust at first because of the headlining all the time, everywhere.
The tension, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Only for a little while, though, just for about 10 gigs, that's all. And after that, I just didn't bother at all. I just felt normally, casually about it. Never think about it.
Stormbringer's an unusual word. Originally, it's some author wrote a book called Stormbringer. It's about a legendary sword of one of the gods, which meted out vengeance and all that sort of things to evildoers. Somebody just remembered the word, and the lyrics hung on to that sort of idea of the gods thing.
Coming out of nowhere, dropping like rain. Stormbringer dance on the thunder again. Dark cloud gathering, breaking the day. No point running 'cause it's coming your way. Ride the rainbow, rock the sky. Stormbringer coming. Time to
track on the album, Lady Double Dealer. Any particular lady in mind when it was written?
Well, David knows lots of weird ladies, and you must have a secret fantasy about evil chicks, because he writes so many things about chicks screwing them up, and that's the more typical Deep Purple rock and roll thing. As you can see, it's just Richie and David wrote that one together, and that sort of fast rock and roll thing goes back to Richie's roots, like 4,000 years ago. And with David's thing about evil chicks, there you have the song.
Get out of my way! I'm getting tired of you. There ain't no chance doing what you wanna do. I've been down. Just to get my feet back on the ground. Lady Double Dealer, get out of my way. Lady Double Dealer, you got nothing to say.
Why are they the loudest rock and roll band in the world?
They're not. They're not at all. No, I can name 5 of the groups that are louder. Really, the Guinness Book of Records did the wrong thing. They measured Deep Purple in a place called the Rainbow in London, which only holds about 5,000 people. And it's so loud in there. And just because a few kids are standing right outside of the PA system, they're fainting, because they're right up against it. And I thought, yeah. We're the loudest group they measured, that's all.
On the Stormbringer album, Glenn, what's your favourite track?
Probably hard to say, really. I enjoyed singing Holy Man. I'd probably go off most playing and singing Hold On.
You're sweeter than the morning when the sun is shining down on me. There is nothing you can say that can make me go away, you see. But you keep saying to me, baby, I feel I'm getting ready. Feel I'm rocking steady. I'm gonna make it with you, woman.
Saturday night, Sunbury 1975, and the vibes are really good here. The temperature's way down. I think it's about 14 degrees on the Sunbury Rock Concert site. It'd freeze the plectrum off a Gibson guitar right now, I can tell you. There hasn't been a band on for about an hour. The last Australian band was on about 60 minutes ago, and the amps have all been moved, speaker boxes, what have you, because there's an incredible amount of speaker boxes for Deep Purple. Security is really, really tight around the stage area. I did see Deep Purple's Rolls Royces arrive about 5 minutes ago. 2 of them rolled up. We've managed to get one of our guys through the security ranks, and we'll cross to him right now. It's over to Trevor Smith.
Dave Coverdale, prior to going on stage at Sunbury about 20 minutes time. What's your impression of the festival so far?
We've got great vibes here. It's a really nice atmosphere. I came down about an hour ago. I've had 2 bottles of Chivas Regal with a touch of Coke and with a Coca-Cola, and it's really groovy, man. It's really groovy. John, have you anything to add on that, John?
I think it's groovy as well, mate. I think it's absolutely bonza.
What songs will you be doing on stage tonight, do you know?
Well, basically I'll be standing there hoping that somebody will be shouting at the end of each consecutive number saying, "We'll do this next." Because at the moment I'm really expecting to play Land of a Thousand Dances and Knock on Wood.
John, what do you think?
Sanity!
Yeah.
Sanity!
A bit of sanity. What do you think of you starting with?
I hope it's Burn, because that's what I'm starting with.
What key is it? 21.
It's in G minor, that is.
Okay.
Yeah, a few songs from Burn, a few songs from Stormbringer, and a few songs from Machine Head, I think.
Do you reckon there's any omen about Stormbringer being your latest album and we've got a storm happening at Sunbury?
Yeah, we tried not to, have anything to do with that. It was really nothing to do with this at all. Yeah, 3 new numbers from that, so that's, if we can remember them.
Just one final question. What's your impression of the festival so far, as your first Australian?
It seems to be excellent. It seems to be well run. It seems to have a nice feeling about it. Let me see. Weather, you can't legislate against. So apart from that, I mean, it seems fine. It seems as good, if not better, than most.
Good evening. Hello! Hear ya? I've been in Australia for 5 years. Let's hear you. How are ya? A little better. Welcome to Mud City.
Sunbury, 1975.
What do you think of Deep Purple?
Oh, fantastic.
How long have you been here?
Oh, since Friday.
Think it was worth coming just for that?
Yeah, my word.
And paying the money?
Yep. A bit steep.
What about putting up with all the hassles of the weather and that?
Oh, it was worth it just for this part now.
Yeah,
really.
it was.
Really good.
What you like most about them?
No, the noise.
Not the music?
Oh, the music was good, but the noise was the best.
His drumming was fantastic.
Any particular song?
Space Trucker.
Stormbringer.
Space Trucker.
Do you like Deep Purple?
Yeah, fantastic.
Who'd you like most?
Ian Pace, drummer. Very good.
Would you see them again if they came back?
Yeah, I reckon.
What's your favourite Deep Purple album?
Machine Head.
I expected to be a bit better.
What'd you expect?
I expected a real good performance, but it wasn't that good. Oh, it wasn't bad. Expected to be a bit louder than it was.
So you in fact disagree with the title that's been hung on the band of heavy metal?
I hate that word.
Why is
no band deserves that tag because it's just a what a tag. Like heavy metal is like somebody banging on it. Deep Purple or Deep Purple. That's it.
Boy from Sioux City. Sioux City, America, wonderful place, I must admit. It's about 4 people live there.
Richie split to kind of, I think he was not getting along with some of the people. I think he was they were all basically kind of unhappy. I think they were going to kind of give up after that, and they tried Clem Clemson from Humble Pie. They heard me on an album I did with Billy Cobham, Spectrum, and they were trying to locate me. For some reason, they thought that I was living in the East Coast, and so they called New York all over the joint. And one of the roadies ran into Carmine Appice at this club in L.A. and gave him my number, and I lived like 2 miles from him. I was like from what I understand, like if I didn't work out, then they were just gonna, say bye-bye to the whole thing. To be honest, I wasn't that enthused about being in an English band, because a lot of English bands are very straight sounding, every show is exact, every joke. I mean, it gets ridiculous, from touring, because, I've toured with a lot of English bands when I was in the James Gang. And so I went down expecting to hear kind of a sterile sounding band, but, they play their bums off. After I joined the band, you could, it was so much pressure for them, because it got to the point where, like Richie would say, okay, Glenn, don't come on my side of the stage, it got really trivial and stuff. So when I came around, it was like they opened up a lot,
On Come Taste the Band, tell us about Lady Luck.
Lady Luck was written by, it was written originally by Jeff Cook, who I kind of grew up with, and I've been playing that for like the last 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
I didn't know the lyrics, and I couldn't get a hold of Jeffrey, and we were in Munich, so David wrote new lyrics, basically, and I remembered bits and pieces, but he kind of put it all together, and with Jeffrey's permission.
She was a two-voice dancer, a blue-eyed gypsy queen. She always had an answer for what she'd done and where she'd been. A very late at midnight, for all around to see. She spoke with words of wisdom, and this is what she said to me. Lady Luck, come on, give me what I want, pull me up. Lady Luck, if I see you again, I will call you my friend. I have always been the sinner, but then the lady came along.
John, the band's been together 8 years now. There's been a number of changes. What happens now?
Like I say, I don't see another change in Deep Purple at all. I don't see that the members of the band would particularly want to sustain another change. And having got to this point, after 8 years, it'll be 8 years just after Christmas, I don't see anything else happening than now the band will pursue its natural course until the spirit dies, until the flame goes out. And that could be next February, or it could be 1985. If I was to choose a record that summed it all up, in spite of the fact that I'm incredibly knocked out with the way Come Taste the Band sounds and is, I wouldn't pick one from that album because it wouldn't sum anything up other than the last 2 months. Yeah. So I'd have to pick something from about 1970 to 72. I'd pick one from Machine Head, which I think was until Come Taste the Band, I think Machine Head was the high point of anything we ever did. And I'd probably pick... It's a personal favourite of mine. It's got the tightness that we began to get together in Machine Head. It's got the slight funky feel that we began to get into. It's got a fabulous vocal from Gillan. Yeah, let's pick Never Before.